Some girls were raised to believe that if they were good enough, life would be good to them. That if they stayed pure, respectful, patient, understanding, soft spoken, loyal, then one day they would be rewarded with a good husband. But nobody warned them that toxic men also like good girls. In fact, sometimes they prefer them. And I know this conversation might make some people uncomfortable because a lot of women were not raised to identify danger. They were raised to endure it quietly. Have you ever noticed that some of the kindest women, the women who pray the most, give the most, forgive the most, somehow end up in the most emotionally draining relationships? And people around them become confused. But she's such a good woman. How did she end up with somebody like that? But maybe the real question is this. What if being a good girl is not enough to protect you from toxic people? Because relationships are not reward systems, and this is something many sheltered girls discover too late. A lot of girls grow up believing that love is something you earn through goodness, so they become everything everybody asks them to be. Easy to correct, easy to silence, easy to guilt, easy to manage. They learn how to keep peace, but not how to recognize manipulation. They learn how to tolerate discomfort, but not how to ask, why does this relationship constantly make me anxious? And the scary part? Toxic people can sense this from miles away. Because manipulative people are not always searching for difficult partners. Many times, they're searching for kind people with weak boundaries, people who will keep explaining away bad behavior, people who will keep giving second chances, people who feel guilty for saying no. And sheltered girls are often taught something dangerous very early in life. That being chosen matters more than choosing wisely. So instead of asking, does this person make me feel emotionally safe? They ask, what can I do to make this person stay? And honestly, that mindset changes everything. Because some girls were prepared for marriage, but not prepared for manipulation. Nobody taught them what gaslighting looks like. Nobody explained why some people become extra loving immediately after hurting you. Nobody taught them that inconsistency can create emotional addiction. Nobody warned them that somebody can say, I love you, and still slowly destroy your self-esteem. So when toxic behavior starts happening, they don't immediately recognize it as abuse. They interpret it as stress, miscommunication, trauma, pressure, spiritual attack, anything except the possibility that this person is unhealthy. And sometimes their empathy becomes the very thing that traps them. Because good girls are often taught to understand everybody, to forgive endlessly, to be patient endlessly, to see the best in people endlessly. And toxic people love that because accountability becomes difficult when somebody keeps replacing it with sympathy. You'll hear things like, he had a hard childhood. Nobody has ever loved him properly. He's going through a lot. He didn't mean it. Deep down, he's a good person. And slowly, the relationship stops being about mutual love and becomes a rescue mission. And the saddest part, many women don't even realize they are disappearing. They become emotionally exhausted trying to save somebody who keeps hurting them. But because they were raised to associate suffering with loyalty, they stay. Because somewhere deep inside, they believe enduring pain makes them a better woman. And society reinforces this constantly more intense tone. We glorify women who tolerate everything, women who stood by their man, women who kept the family together no matter what, women who sacrificed themselves endlessly. But very few people celebrate women who leave situations that are destroying them. So a lot of women become terrified of starting over, not because they are happy, but because they are ashamed. They fear divorce, judgment, embarrassment, failure. especially if they spent years believing marriage was the final reward for being good. So when the marriage becomes painful, it creates an identity crisis because now they're forced to confront something they were never prepared for. Good behavior does not guarantee good relationships. And honestly, that realization breaks a lot of people. Another reason this happens is because toxic men rarely introduce themselves as toxic. At first, they seem intentional, protective, attentive, emotionally expressive. Sometimes they seem deeply wounded and misunderstood. And sheltered girls often mistake emotional intensity for emotional depth. Because if you've never experienced manipulation before, love bombing can feel like destiny. Control can feel like protection. Possessiveness can feel like passion. Emotional dependency can feel romantic. And by the time the mask starts slipping, there's already emotional attachment. And this is why relationship education matters so much. Because being innocent is not the same thing as being prepared. A woman can know how to cook, pray, submit, nurture, care for others, and still not know how to identify emotional abuse. She can know how to keep a relationship, but not know how to protect herself inside one. And maybe that's why so many women quietly feel angry, not just at the men who hurt them, but at the systems that never prepared them properly. Because many girls were taught how to be desirable wives without ever being taught discernment, without being taught boundaries, without being taught emotional safety, without being taught that love should not constantly feel confusing. So, if you are listening to this and you're realizing that you ignored red flags because you wanted love to work, you are not alone. So many women were conditioned to believe that goodness alone would protect them. But goodness without boundaries becomes vulnerability. And maybe healing starts when women stop asking, how do I become good enough to be loved? And start asking, how do I recognize relationships that are safe, healthy, and mutual? Because you do not win healthy love by suffering correctly. You do not earn respect by abandoning yourself. And you do not prove your value by tolerating emotional harm. A healthy relationship is not supposed to feel like constant emotional survival. And if nobody has told you this before, you are allowed to choose yourself. You are allowed to leave confusion. You are allowed to question unhealthy dynamics. You are allowed to stop romanticizing endurance. And most importantly, you deserve a love that does not require you to disappear in order to keep it. Tell me, what's one relationship lesson you had to learn the hard way?